All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about James Baldwin. And he's one of those voices that just seems to get more and more powerful as time goes on. So we're going to explore how he used his art, his incredibly complex identity, and just the raw power of truth to really challenge America. I mean, that quote, it really says it all, doesn't it? For Baldwin, making people uncomfortable wasn't some kind of side effect of his writing. No, that was the entire point. He wielded language like a mirror, forcing society to look at itself and confront all the ugliness, the racism, the homophobia, that it was trying so desperately to pretend wasn't there. So if you want to understand that confrontational, unapologetic style, you've really got to understand the man himself and the world that made him. So who was James Baldwin? Well, he was all of these things, right? A Black writer, a gay essayist, an activist. But here's what's so crucial to understand about him. For Baldwin, these weren't different hats he could put on and take off. You couldn't just peel one identity away from the other. Being Black, being gay, being an activist, it was all completely tangled up together. And that fusion is what fueled every single word he ever wrote. So let's just get a quick snapshot of his life. He was born in Harlem back in 1924. So right away, from day one, he's breathing in the air of racial injustice. It was all around him. And he figured out fast that writing wasn't just some hobby. It was a lifeline. It was a way to survive, a way to fight back. And this is so important, he did all of this while being an openly gay man at a time when that was incredibly dangerous and could literally cost you everything. And that brings us to what was probably his most revolutionary idea. This identity he forged in the fire of all that injustice. It's all about being queer, Black, and absolutely 100% unapologetic. Okay, so this right here is the absolute core of Baldwin's thinking. He just completely threw out the idea that you could fight for racial justice in one box and LGBTQ plus rights in another. He was like, no, you don't get it. He saw that both struggles came from the exact same place, a deep societal fear and denial of anyone who's different. For him, it was simple. You couldn't truly be free as a Black person if you weren't also free as a gay person, period. And while this quote it nails it. He completely flipped the script on what queerness meant. You have a world screaming at him to hide, to be ashamed. And Baldwin steps up and says no. Being openly queer isn't a weakness. It's not a liability. It is an act of courage. It's a way of telling the truth, just by existing. And you really can't overstate how huge this was. Because he refused to chop up his identity into neat little boxes, he literally carved out a space in literature that just didn't exist before. He wrote about queer love and Black life as if they belonged together, because they did. He gave a voice to so many people and so many stories that had been erased for way, way too long. But creating this new space, it wasn't just a peaceful construction project. To build something new, you first have to tear down the old stuff. And for Baldwin, that meant taking a sledgehammer to some of the biggest myths holding up American society. Okay, so myth number one, he just completely demolished. This idea that you can separate the struggles. Baldwin's reality, and the reality for so many, is that you live your whole identity all at once every single second. It's not like you're Black on Monday and gay on Tuesday. So for him, any fight for freedom had to be for the whole person. Otherwise, what's the point? It's not real liberation. And then there's myth number two, the idea that art is just this nice, decorative thing, totally separate from the real world of politics and activism. Baldwin thought that was absolutely ridiculous. He knew that a powerful book, a sharp essay, it could get under your skin. It could change your heart and mind in a way no law ever could. It could change the culture, and that's where real change begins. Okay, so if art isn't just decoration, if it can actually be a tool for change, how exactly did Baldwin use it? Well, that leads us right to this powerful idea of art as a weapon. See, for Baldwin, this wasn't just about being clever with words. He believed that telling the truth, especially the uncomfortable, painful truth, was a deep moral responsibility for an artist. It wasn't just something you could do, it was something you had to do. It was your job to be a witness. And you can almost break down his method into 3 steps. First, tell the truth, the raw, unfiltered truth with no easy answers. Don't try to make people feel better. Second, ask the hard questions. Don't just preach. Make the reader wrestle with huge ideas like love, freedom, and responsibility. And then, the third and maybe most powerful step, demand self-examination. He turns that mirror right back on you, the reader, and forces you to ask, where do I fit into all of this? And that whole approach, that's exactly why his work doesn't feel like a history lesson. It feels like it was written yesterday. And that brings us to his incredible, enduring legacy. I mean, it's pretty wild. You can read an essay he wrote decades ago, and it feels like he's commenting on today's headlines. The conversations he was forcing about race, about identity, about what freedom really means, they are the exact same conversations we're still having right now. His words aren't relics in a museum, they are alive and breathing. And this gets to a really critical point in his philosophy. For Baldwin, visibility wasn't just about representation, just seeing yourself on a screen or in a book. It was about resistance. In a world that is actively trying to make you invisible, just the act of standing up and being seen is a powerful political statement. It's saying, I exist, I'm here, and you will deal with me. Which all comes down to this powerful idea. Naming injustice is the first step toward dismantling it. Think about that. You can't fix a problem if you refuse to admit it exists. So the act of calling things what they are, of saying the words racism or homophobia out loud, that's not the end of the fight, but it is the absolute, essential, you can't skip it first step. And so, in the end, Baldwin's work leaves us with a challenge. He showed us the first step. He did the incredibly brave and difficult work of naming the injustices. The question his legacy asks every single one of us is, okay, what's next? What are we going to do now?